Now, a lot of these poems are set in Europe, and people often ask me that, why, David, why are a lot of your poems set in Europe? And that's because FSU has an international studies program, and we go over there, to teach. I'm teaching in Florence this summer, so it's also the place where I have the most time to write. So these settings do creep in. I'm going to read you a poem called "The Little Sisters of the Sacred Heart." It's about my son Will and his birth, known in the family as Evil Dr. Will. He's a dermatologist in Los Angeles, but he's also a television star. He's on a couple of Big Brother programs called Big Brother 2 and Big Brother 7, and he won. But he played a persona. This secret must not leave this room, but those reality TV shows, they're not all just like turn the camera on and walk out of the room. So he played a persona called Evil Dr. Will, and that's how he's known at family gatherings. Evil Dr. Will passed the meatloaf. So anyway, he was born in Italy, but the poem begins in Scotland. I'm bouncing across the Scottish heath in a rented Morris Minor and listening to an interview with Rat Scabies, drummer for the first punk band, The Damned, and Mr. Scabies, who's probably 50 or so and living comfortably on royalties, is as recalcitrant as ever, as full of despair and self-loathing. But the interviewer won't have it, and he keeps calling him a ratty and saying, ratty, it's a bit of a put-on, isn't it? And, you're just pulling the old leg now, aren't you, ratty? To which Mr. Scabies keeps saying things like, we're fucked, you daft prat. Oh, yeah, absolutely, fucked. Funny old ratty. He believed in nothing, which is something. If it weren't for Summit, there'd be naught, as they say in that part of the world. I wonder if his dad wasn't a bit of a bastard, didn't drink himself to death, say, as opposed to a dad like mine, who, though also dead now, was as nice as he could be when he was alive. A month before, I'd been in Florence, and I walked by the Casa di Cura, where my son Will was born 27 years ago, though it's not a hospital now, but a home for the old nuns of Le Suore Minime da Sacro Cuore, who helped to deliver and bathe and care for him when he was just a few minutes old. And when I look over the gate, I see 3 of these holy sisters sitting in the garden there, and I wave at them, and they wave back. And I wonder if they were on duty when Will was born. These women who have had no sex at all, probably not even very much candy, yet who believe in something that may be nothing after all. Though I love them for giving me my boy. They're dozing and talking, these mystical brides of Christ, and thinking about their husband. And it looks to me as though they're having their version of the Sacra Conversazione, a favorite subject of Renaissance artists in which people who care for one another are painted chatting together about noble things. And I'm wondering as I walk by, when the shadows are long, later, will their white faces be like stars against their black habits, the 3 of them a constellation about to rise into the vault that arches over Tuscany, the fires there now twinkling, now steadfast in the chambered heart of the sky. Okay, I'm going to read you my greatest hit, and it's called The Search for Baby Comb-Over, and the reason why it's called the greatest hit is as follows, because young men, and for some reasons young men, contact me a couple of times ever since the poem appeared in a magazine and then in a book, and maybe, who knows, maybe even more now that's in the new and selected poems, but contact me and say, I'm going to be in my state oral interpretation competition, and I'm going to read The Search for Baby Comb-Over. Out of all the poems that I've written, this is the one that keeps coming up again. And they don't have to ask. I mean, they're just polite young southern men from Sylacauga, Alabama, or Conyers, Georgia, or someplace. And so I say, well, great, good luck, and let me know how it goes. And every once in a while, someone will call back and say, hey, I got second in regional, or so they're getting another little trophy for the top of their mom's refrigerator. But my favorite thing is that last year, this high school teacher, actually there were 2 of them, 2 high school teachers from Texas contacted me. One called and one emailed. And the one said, look, some of the boys want to use your poem for our oral interpretation contest, but the laws are that the poem has to have been written in the 20th century. So can you verify that the search for baby comb-over was written in the 20th century? And I, like holding my hand up to the telephone, I say, yes, I so certify that it was written, but I can't help but add that if it wasn't written in the 20th century, then it either had to be written by someone younger than 5 years old or older than 106. Hello, by the time they've hung up. But you can, if you've ever been on a committee, you can see how people sit around and say, we're not going to have a bunch of long-haired stuff or European junk or something. Let's make sure these poems were wrote in the 20th century. All right, just put in the law, all in favor. So anyway, they have the rule, and I'm happy to abide by it.